Here comes video number 2, and I'm so sorry that Summer did not make an appearance in video number 1. My apologies. Hey, Summer. Oh, she's giving us the cold shoulder. Hey, Summer. All right, where's Marlo? There's Marlo. There's Marlo. Hey, Caitlin. Hey, Anna. Okay. All right, so on to even and odd functions again. So one thing is even and odd functions have a certain look to them. So it turns out that if a function is an even function, there is symmetry with respect to the y-axis. So this is an even function, and you can fold it over the y-axis. Odd functions are symmetric with respect to the origin. So that means like you could fold quadrant 1 up with quadrant 3 and quadrant 2 up with quadrant 4, and there'd be symmetry there. Okay, so now we're going to go into something called piecewise function. So even though chapter 1 is not a hard chapter, there is so much in chapter 1 that is really important to your success in calculus. You need to know functions, you need to know relative minimums, maximums, and you need to know piecewise function. So we have this function f of x, and if x is bigger than -3, then x plus 3 is our guy. If x is less than -3, then this is our guy. So if we want to find f of 0, do we use the top one? Do we use the bottom one? Do we use both of them? Well, it depends on what the x value is. So we're going to plug 0 in for x, and since 0 is greater than -3, we're going to use the top guy. So we're going to say f of 0 is 0 plus 3, which is 3. All right, if we want to find f of -6, f of -6 is smaller than -3, so I'm going to plug -6 into this guy. So I'm going to say negative, open parentheses, -6 plus 3. So that's going to give me negative times -3, so that's going to give me 3. And then if I want to plug in f of -3, I have to use the top guy since the top guy has a bar underneath it. And so -3 plus 3 is 0. So it's not hard. You should have learned this last year. We actually did a little bit of this in Honors Algebra 1. We did this in Honors Algebra 1. What we're going to do on the next page, we did not do in Honors Algebra 1, but you should have done in Honors Algebra 2. So we did evaluate functions. So we want to find f of 7. So we have two functions. If x is not 5, we use this guy. If x is 5, we use this guy. So f of 7, so we're going to do the top guy. So we're going to say 7 squared minus 25 over 7 minus 5. So 49 minus 25 is 24, divided by 2 is 12. Then to do f of 0, we're going to do the top guy again, 0 minus 25 over 0 minus 5, so that's going to be 5. And then f of 5, well, if x is 5, we have 10, so f of 5 is 10. Okay, so let's graph these guys. Okay, so this is important. Not hard, but important. Okay, so now we want to graph a piecewise function. So basically we want to graph two functions. So we want to graph the function y equals 1/2 x, and we want to graph the function y equals 3. But we don't want to graph the whole function. Sorry, I was trying to clear the window. Okay, so let's graph this guy. So y equals 1/2 x. So we're going to start at 0, go up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, down 1. So I put a dot. Now, if this was a normal function, I would just draw that whole thing. But I don't want that whole function. I want just a piece of it. I want where the x's are less than or equal to 1. So which one of these dots has an x value that's equal to 0? This guy. And I want the piece of the function where the x's are less than 0. Well, if x's are less than 0, then that's everything to the left of x. So this is the piece of the function we want. We don't want this guy. You don't actually have to erase them, but it's not part of the graph. Then the second line we want to graph, y equals 3. So that's this guy. Good old horizontal line. okay? But I don't want the whole function. I just want a piece of the function. I want the piece where the x's are greater than 0. So which one of these dots has an x value of 0? This guy. It's not included because there's not a bar underneath it, so I'm going to open the circle there, and everything to the right is where the x's are greater than 0. So that's how you graph the piecewise function. All right, let's try that again. Okay, so we're going to graph y equals 1/2 x squared, and we're going to graph y equals 2x minus 1. So y equals 1/2 x squared is a parabola. So when I plug in 0, I get 0. When I plug in 1, I get a half. When I plug in -1, I get a half. So I have this parabola. But I don't want the whole parabola. I want the part of the parabola where the x's are less than 1. And notice that there's not a bar underneath it. So I'm going to open that circle. And so I only want the left side of that parabola. All right, and then I go down to 2x minus 1. So my slope is 2, so up 2 over 1. So there's my line. And, oh, I think I'm off a little bit. Oh, no, I'm not. -1 and then up 2 over 1. So there's supposed to be a little bit of space. That's at a half, that's at 1. And where the x's are greater than 1, so that has an x value of 1, and so we want that piece of the line. These guys don't actually touch. Sometimes they do, but these they don't. There's a little bit of a space there. Okay, so I think we're going to stop the video there and finish up video number 3 with this other very important formula for calculus.